Welcome to part 2 of this Football Manager 2015 experiment, where we're seeing who can win in a race for the World Cup between the mighty nations of China and India. If you missed part 1, please check that out first. Go to my channel and watch that video so you know what's going on. In that video, I holidayed only as far as 2019. I'm going to go a further 20 years in this part 2, and we're going to see if China or India, or both of them, have managed to win the World Cup in that time. Thank you for all the likes on part 1, and thank you also for voting in the straw poll. The question was, who will win the World Cup first out of China and India? And I gave you 3 options: China, India, neither. So China got the most votes, 172 votes, 50% of the vote. And then India got 100 votes, 29% of the vote, and neither got 69 votes, 20% of the vote. So there's a bit of a mix there, but the majority of people are thinking China. So we'll see how both nations have got on so far. It's 2023, as you can see here. Brazil won the 2022 World Cup. You can see here they beat Serbia in the final, which Serbia aren't really a team you'd expect to get to the final. So it shows that Football Manager can throw up these things. Unfortunately, China nor India got past the group stage. I don't even know if India qualified. We'll have a quick look at the World Cup. This was the Qatar 2022 World Cup. Remember, Qatar actually didn't qualify from their group. China finished bottom of their group, Group E, behind Argentina, Serbia and Ghana. And India didn't even qualify for this World Cup, so not very good progress from them. We'll have a look at China, and then we'll have a quick look at India, and then I'm going to basically stop at every World Cup to see how they've got on, sort of a year after each World Cup. So China currently 44th in the world. Over the last couple of years, they have managed to get up to 31st, but that's not brilliant. They need to be better than that. Most of their key players are still playing in China for Guangzhou, the main, considered probably the best club in China. But they do have a guy playing for PSG, Hung Zi, 22 caps for him. He's 24 years old, and he looks pretty good. 159 current ability. That's decent. A decent player. Their top player apparently is this guy Yang Wei, who looks quite versatile actually. 157 current ability. Didn't reach that potential of 190 though. He's 26 years old, so something is holding them back. Maybe the fact that they're staying in China is holding their top guys from reaching their proper potential. India are only just behind China, literally 2 places behind. They've caught them up. Although they didn't get to the last World Cup, they have really progressed and are only just behind China, which does mean that perhaps those of you that chose China, you may end up being wrong. India have a chance of perhaps causing problems to the big nations of this world in football. Their top player is playing for AC Ajaccio. The fact that there's a few European teams that have links with Indian clubs may help them. Someone did comment that in the part 1, because there are teams in England, I think, that have links with Indian teams. This is the top guy, 45 goals in 61 games for India. He looks very good. 146 current ability, hasn't reached the 163 potential ability. Maybe it's going to be similar for the Indians, but perhaps if they move to the English clubs or the European clubs, they may have more chance of reaching their potential. This guy plays for Man City and has reached his potential. There you go. So possibly there is more of a chance for these guys. Still no World Cup victory for China or India. It's going to take a few years, I would expect, for them to really challenge. Argentina beat England on penalties in the 2026 World Cup. But let's see if China and India managed to qualify for the World Cup initially, and then see if they managed to get out the group. So China didn't get out their group, finished 3rd, 3 points behind Algeria and Italy there. Did India make it to the 2026 World Cup? No, they still haven't made it to a World Cup. That's a problem. We'll have a look at their recent schedule and see if both China and India succeeded in perhaps the continental competitions. But China are up to 25th in the world now. They've got their top player, their top 3 players are now actually playing in Europe. Wei Zhubin is their top one, 11 goals in 48 games for him. He's actually a defensive midfielder or a central midfielder. It's quite a good goals record for him. Good player, 168 current ability, 175 potential. Moved to Bayern Munich for 2.1 million from Guangzhou. Second best player, Hong Wujun, 31 years old. He's a goalkeeper, but looks pretty strong. 69 caps for China. Wow, he's a very good goalkeeper. One of the best goalkeepers in the world with those attributes, even though he didn't quite fulfill his potential. He's got 186 current, which is amazing. And then Lao Tao, also playing for China. He's a left back, 76 games for India. 27 years old now. Good player. Once again, hasn't reached his potential, but still very good player nonetheless. And the top player that's playing in China still is this guy. 28 goals in 37 games for his country. He looks quite a good striker, but nothing spectacular. He's got very good physicals. And yeah, he's not amazing, but he is their top striker apparently. So maybe they need to find a better striker. Let's look at the top club and then see what sort of young players they have. So Zhong Yunzong is the hot prospect in China, or for this club in particular. He's 19 years old. Not great. Nothing spectacular there at all. What about this team? Let's have a look at them. Zhu Jingjiang. I don't know whether I'm pronouncing these at all right. He has very good potential, so that's encouraging to see. But once again, will they reach that potential? How are the clubs holding out in terms of their facilities? I suppose that's a question. They've kept 20 on junior coaching and youth recruitment. Training facilities and youth facilities have dropped off a bit, and they still have a sugar daddy. So he should hopefully continue to improve the facilities when they do drop off a bit. So we'll just have a quick look at their recent fixtures in the last few years since the last video. You can see 2019. You can pause the video if you want to look at particular results, but I'll just whiz through and maybe pull out some ones we can see easily. Had a good year that year. They only lost against South Korea. 2022, that was the World Cup that they failed in the group stage in. And then 2023, another good year. Only lost against India, actually. Asian Cup second round. Is that the second time they've lost against them? India have actually won the most recent Asian Cups. We'll have to have a look at them in a minute because they look like they've improved. 2024, only one defeat again against Australia in World Cup qualifying. And then 2025, only one defeat against Australia. And then 2026, couple defeats there. That was only in the World Cup though. But they've been winning all their other games. 6-0 wins against Singapore. 8-0 win against Macau. Good victories there. And then this year so far, they actually lost in the quarter-final of the Asian Cup against India. So those of you that have picked in China to win the World Cup first, you might be a little bit worried because India have been defeating China when they've come up against them. I don't think they've actually won against India yet. I may be wrong. I may have missed something out there. But India have been doing very well. So let's go to India. They're 12th in the world. They are above China. Who'd have thought that? Most people thought China would be ahead of India, especially in the early stages, because India's league system is behind. Their club system is further behind as well in terms of reputation and all of that sort of thing. But India are up to 12th in the world. They've actually been up as high as 11th because they've dropped off one place since the last one. So they are quite far above China now. 13 places above China as it stands. But they still haven't got to a World Cup. Paco is still the top player, 29 years old, 71 goals in 100 games for India. And they've still got two guys at Man City. This is the other one, Al Mayo. He looks very good actually. Let's have a quick look at him. 180 current ability. Now he's reached his potential maybe because he went to Man City. He's been on loan at Celtic, but he has recently broken into that Man City team and started playing plenty of games for Manchester City. So wow, they're going strong. They really are going strong at the moment. Let's look at the top club, which is actually Poon FC. I actually played a network game against my friend with Poon FC the other day, just because I thought it sounded funny. Armando Ansari is the top prospect at Poon FC, 15 years old. He's got 178 current potential ability, so he could be a star in the making. He's only 15. His technical attributes are awful, but he can work on that, can't he? So actually, let's have a quick look at the National Football League, because it's almost caught up with China's Super League now, which is really good. Both of them need to try and get to the top, I guess, to really progress. And I'll have a look at the Asian Champions League. I'll try to remember to have a look at that at the end of this part too. Someone did ask to see that. You can see the recent winners of the Indian Football League though. So once again, we'll just have a look at their recent results over the last few years. This is 2019, where they finished third in the Asian Cup beating North Korea on penalties. And then 2020, only one defeat, which was against Iran. Then 2021, they beat Indonesia there and didn't lose a single game that year. Then 2022, I think they're playing less games than China. I might be wrong, but it seems a little less. I may be completely wrong there, I can't remember. 2023, they played plenty of games. They did actually lose against Australia. They beat China there. That was the Asian Cup second round. They'd lost against Iran in the quarterfinal of the Asian Cup. So they did quite well there, but didn't progress on their third place in the previous one. 2024, that's World Cup qualifying, lost against Saudi Arabia, and then lost against South Korea and Iran, which is why I guess they didn't qualify for the World Cup in 2026, where they just played friendlies but won every single game. Then 2027, so far they have managed to win the Asian Cup, beating Australia 2-1 in the final. Goal from Paco, crucial there, but they very impressive 4-0 win against UAE in the semi-final of the Asian Cup. So well done to India, the first team out of China and India to win the Asian Cup. But it's the World Cup that matters in this experiment, where it's a race to the World Cup. It's not a race to the Asian Nations Cup. So we'll have to see if India or China can win that next time round in the 2030 World Cup, which we'll look at now. So for the second time in a row, Argentina have won the World Cup against England on penalties. Finished 3-3 this time round. Cracking game by the looks of it. But once again, England falling short in a penalty shootout for the second time in a row against Argentina. Now that is unlucky. Now, have India finally managed to qualify for a World Cup? Let's have a look. So this is the 2030 World Cup. Ignore that at the top. That's the next one. It's 2030. So let's go down and have a look. Where's China? Where's India? There's China, finishing third in their group. Did India fail to qualify again? What is wrong with them? They're really high in the world rankings. They've won the Asian Nations Cup, and they're still not qualifying for the World Cup. So China have definitely been the better team in the World Cup, and that's what matters in this experiment in a way. They've not been as high in the rankings, and they've not been as successful at winning tournaments, but what matters most is the World Cup, and they've got through a few, but haven't managed to get through to the knockout stages. They're 16th in the world rankings now. They've been as high as 6th, so that is very impressive. This guy is in charge at the age of 39. Now, at the end of this episode, if they still haven't won the World Cup, I'm going to give both managers really good attributes, basically, to see if that helps things. So world rankings wise, they're 16th. Don't know where India are. If we go down, India are down in 31st. They've actually dropped off since the last one, basically because they haven't qualified for the World Cup, I'm guessing. This guy's still the top player, the Bayern Munich guy, 29 years old now. This guy's good, Meng Longshan, 24 goals in 76 games for China, and he has a good current ability. They're getting some really good top quality players now, and that's what matters. Jiangsu is the top team in China at the moment. Gong Chen is their top prospect at the age of 16. He's got decent, very good potential, 175. That is world-class ability, really, when you're talking about over 175. Interestingly, the Chinese Super League is now top of the Asian competition reputation. I don't even know where the Indian one's gone, because I swear they were high. Was I looking at a different one previously? They're down to... Oh yeah, they're down to 14th. They were 14th. They're 10th, sorry. So that has actually dropped off since we last looked. But the Chinese one has gone up, so that may have had an effect on the players coming through. India, as we've seen, are 31st in the world. This is their manager. He looks okay, but he's nothing special, is he? 105 current ability, so he's sort of an okay manager, but nothing amazing. They have been 10th in the world. In fact, they've been 9th in the last 2 years, but have dropped off because they didn't qualify for the World Cup. We'll look at their results in the next update. I won't do that every single time, otherwise the video is going to be really long. But their top guy, Mustafa Babu, is a goalkeeper. 30 caps for India. Okay, he's not bad. Decent player. Leslie Naik as well is up there. Plays for PSG. Is this the guy we saw before, or is this someone else? 173 current ability. I think he's a different guy, actually. And then Dadu Kabir. Let's have a quick look at him as well. Their third best player. 5 goals in 81 games for India. He's only 29, so he's done pretty well for them. 154 current ability. So I'm going to go to the next World Cup, and see if India can actually qualify for once. England have won the World Cup, finally. Third time lucky. They lost 2 finals against Argentina, and now they've beaten France 2-0 in the final. But we don't really care about England in this experiment. We care about India and China. And China once again failed to get out their group, finishing third with 2 points. And then India, have they finally qualified? Please. Where are they? Where are they? Wait, they surely have qualified for this World Cup. They haven't, have they? What is wrong with them? I mean, we're talking about who can win the World Cup first, China or India. India haven't even qualified. China have finished third every single time. They're 20th in the world. They've been as high as 8th, and they still aren't doing anything. It's really weird. We'll give them one more shot in this part, and then I'm going to be fiddling around a bit more, improving the manager, I think, and then maybe something else. Li Nan. What a name, is their top player apparently. Let's just have a quick look at him. Wow, he's a very good player, 188 current ability, plays for Man City. So they've got players moving to Europe more regularly now, which is good. Although this guy's the second best player and he's still in China. 54 goals in 71 games for China. He's a prolific goal scorer. He had potential of 199. That is pretty much the highest. But he never reached it. 150 is the highest he's got. I assume that's the highest. He's 29, so he's playing in his prime. And the simple fact of the matter is he didn't go to a club that would develop him and reach his full potential. They could have had the best player in the world here. And unfortunately, he never made it. 199 potential. What a waste. He's still a good player, but could have been even more insane. A lot more insane. Something is holding back these players, because China, we've seen, have had loads of players of massive potential and not fulfilled, whereas India, on the other hand, their players do seem to be reaching their potential. They're just not qualifying for the World Cup. Now, Jingsu have actually got 3.5-star reputation now, so they're a strong team worldwide in a way. 3.5-star, that is very good. And facilities-wise, it's still good. Their youth facilities 18, training facilities 17, everything else is 20. That matters there. So, I don't know. I don't know what's happening, really. They've still got the best competition in Asia. The Indian Football League National Football League is back up to 9th, so that's making progress. Let's have a look at their recent fixtures then in the last few years. It's just... Oh, we're looking at the club. Whoops. That's better. So, in recent years, 2028 they won every single game. 2029, playing in the East Asian Cup here, aren't they? I don't really... What is the East Asian Cup? China have won it 3 times. We haven't had a look at this one yet, have we? So they've won it 3 times, finished runners-up and 3rd in the other 2 that they didn't win. So they've been doing well there, and it's no mean feat beating South Korea and Japan. They're strong teams. So well done to them. And this was the 2030 World Cup, where they drew 3 games and didn't get out their group, so they were unbeaten that year. 2031, they only lost 1 game in the Asian Cup semi-final, 3-2. They beat Qatar in the Asian Cup 3rd round playoff, though, so that is good. And then 2032, really good win against Turkmenistan there, 8-1. Lost against South Korea in the East Asian Cup and Iraq in the World Cup qualifying. 2033, they're unbeaten. 2034, they crashed out the World Cup. And 2035, they lost against India in the Asian Cup final. We wanted to see India and China take on each other in a World Cup final, preferably, but an Asian Cup final, that's the next best thing. They lost on penalties as well, so India have won this competition again. China had more shots, but India successfully defeated them for another time. India have now won it twice. China runners-up and 3rd place, but India have had a 3rd place and 2 wins in this competition, so well done to India. Let's go to India then, who are 18th in the world, which means they're actually above China at the moment, despite the fact they haven't qualified for a World Cup yet. It's very frustrating, really. This is the guy in charge still. I think that's the same guy, so he might be being improved at the end of this part 2. This is their top player, Armando Ansari. I think we saw him before, didn't we? He plays for Schalke. How's he getting on? Because he's 23 now. It's nearly reached his full potential, 173 current. Mustafa Babu, we saw him before. So Pune FC still the top team in India. The top hot prospect is Joe, who's Brazilian. So it's interesting that they've signed in Brazilians now. Unfortunately, he won't play for India unless he, I guess, decides to. I don't know, actually. He's not that great anyway, so he wouldn't really be good. He wouldn't even be good enough for India now, I don't think. Key player is actually Brazilian as well. So the Indian teams seem to be signing some foreign players here, which might actually improve the reputation of the league. That it was up to 6th in the Asian competition reputation, but it's currently in 9th. It's been up and down, hasn't it? Okay, so let's look at their recent fixtures. 2027, they won every single game. 2028, they were unbeaten. 2029 was a poor year, as you can see there. World Cup qualifying, they just really struggled. They actually got to the World Cup playoff leg, though. Despite some defeats there, they managed to come through that game against Saudi Arabia just about. Got through to the Confederations Cup as well because of winning the Asian Cup. But they haven't finished in any of the top 3 places so far. Let's go back. So yeah, World Cup playoff, they lost against Chile. That is unfortunate. That was their chance of getting through to the World Cup. Then friendly-wise, this year, 2030, they did very well. 2031, they lost a couple of games, Asian Cup and in the World Cup qualifying. 2032, they actually lost a game against China, which they hadn't done so previously. But we did see them get revenge later on, remember? And they lost 4-1 against China. So China doing really well in World Cup qualifying and, well, the World Cup, I guess, to a certain extent. But they've beaten India a couple times in World Cup qualifying. It's just sort of other things like friendlies, Asian Cup, that sort of thing they've been losing in. And 2035, they did beat China, as we know, in the Asian Cup final. And their first qualifying round of the World Cup, they won 6-0 so far. So let's hope and pray that for the last section of this part 2 of this experiment, they actually qualify and maybe make some progress. So the 2038 World Cup was won by Germany on penalties after a 0-0 draw against Italy. Very boring final there. But what we want to know is, did India qualify for the World Cup? And if so, how far did they get? Same with China. China once again finished 3rd in their group, 4 points. Really unlucky this time on goal difference. Where are India? They actually got through, first time in the World Cup, and they actually get through to the second round at least. We'll have a look how far they got, but that's really unlucky for China. They got the same number of points as India actually, but didn't go through. And China just, they've been unlucky every single time. Second round then, India actually won 1-0 against Peru. Pulak Singh with the goal to send them through to the World Cup quarterfinals. Unbelievable stuff. And then quarter-final, they lost against eventual finalists Italy on extra time as well. Larola Hossein getting the goal. Very good play. 43 goals in 58 games for India. So let's have a look at India first for the first time. They're 18th in the world. They've been as high as 13th in the last couple of years. So they're sitting pretty. China 3 places. Wait, where are India? Oh yeah, they're actually below China. China are 16th in the world, so they've gone up to, and India have dropped down to, so they've switched places since the last one anyway. So they're going strong, and so are China, but India got lucky with that final. So this is their best player, the guy that plays for Schalke. Let's see how he's getting on. 177 current ability, looks like a good player. Second is Rajana Kanta Ahmed, who's got 100 caps for India by the age of 28. So he's a good player, very good. 180 current ability. They've got some very, very good, strong players in this team. Let's just have a quick look at the last 4 years then and see how they've got on. So 2036, they lost 1 game against Jordan. 2037, they got through to the Confederations Cup, where they lost in the semi-final against South Africa, and then lost the 3rd place playoff against England 1-0. So that's quite unlucky. 4th place in the Confederations Cup, not bad at all for them. 2038, where as we know, they got through to the quarter-final. And then 2039 so far, they lost against China in the Asian Cup semi-final, so that's revenge for China there. Before winning the third place playoff against Iran, China still haven't won the Asian Cup. They have been runners-up the last 2 times, so that's very unlucky for them. So if we just have a look at their World Cup history so far, 2038 lost against Italy in the quarterfinal. Their first time there, and they got through to the quarterfinal. So perhaps they're favourites to go further in the next part. We'll have to see, won't we, in part 3. If you're looking forward to part 3, hit that like button right now, please. Okay, so China, 16th in the world. Recently they've been as high as 10th, and that's in the last 2 years. Their top player is playing for Arsenal, Yang Wenbin. 10 goals in 63 games from this defensive midfield. He looks incredibly strong. All round really. 181 current ability. He's reached his potential. Maybe because he's moved to Arsenal. Zhao Yang, 99 games for China. Plays for Inter. 159 current. Not a bad player at all. And then the top player that plays for a Chinese club is Qi Yi. 28 goals in 67 games for China. He hasn't reached his potential. So any player that seems to play for Jiangsu just seems to struggle. Top player, this guy, Lu Peng, plays for Chelsea. I'm just having a quick look at some of these other players because 186 current ability. Sometimes he's not always the top player at the top of the list. There's some other gems further down. This guy plays for Real Madrid and looks incredible. Look at those technical attributes. In fact, all those attributes are really, really strong. And he's 193 current ability, one of the best players in the world. 24 goals in 38 games for China. Should be playing more regularly. Once again, just like with the Indonesia one, a couple of the top players aren't playing as many games as they should be. Let's have a look at the recent schedule. Then I'm going to have a look at the Asian Champions League, and then we'll look at sort of World Player of the Year to see if any of the Indians or Chinese players have made it onto that list, because there's some really good players around now. East Asian Cup, they've won the 2032-2034 competitions, but Japan won the most recent one. 2038, that was the World Cup year where they failed again to get out their group, and 2039 was when they finished second in the Asian Cup. So this is the Asian Champions League. Now, are there any Indian teams or Chinese teams in there? I'm sure there are. So we'll just go from top to bottom. There's Jiangsu, so that's Chinese. Gansu, Chinese. Beijing, Chinese. Jiangsu, Guangzhou, Beijing and Jiangsu. Where's Suwon from? They're from the K-League. Okay, so there's plenty of Chinese teams in there. Don't think there's any Indian. And I suppose that's predictable that there wouldn't be any Indian teams. They're still doing really well though, despite the fact their league isn't as strong as the Chinese league. Perhaps it's not always the case that it needs to be a strong Indian league, because there's a lot of Indians going to Europe for starters. So they're keeping up with the Chinese very well and have actually got further than China in the World Cup, remember. Because if we look at their World Cup history, 2002 was the first time they ever made it. But since then, 2022, fourth, third, they've been really unlucky. They've got to 5 World Cups in this experiment, but they haven't got past the group stage, unlike India, who have got to 1 World Cup and reached the quarterfinals. So then, World Player of the Year award. I don't think there's going to be any Chinese players or Indians in it in the early stages, and probably not even in the latter ones as well, if we keep going up. There's 3 Spaniards there. If we keep going up, there's lots of Spanish players appearing: Argentina, Brazil, Spain, Germany, the countries you would expect. Holland, a Danish player in there, an English player in there. South African winning the in 2035 at the age of 33. But I don't think... Oh, there we go! Li Nan! Li Nan is World Player of the Year. Oh, wow. That's amazing stuff. 100 caps for China this guy has. 181 current, but he would have been better a couple of years ago. He's 33. What a story. Well done to Li Nan. What a name as well. Love it. So he won World Player of the Year in 2037 at the age of 31. And then this year, 3 Germans on the list. But yeah, that's made my day seeing that. World Golden Ball was usually similar players on the list. That guy actually looks Chinese, but he's from Brazil. Macon keeps appearing. Wonder if he's part. He must be part. It doesn't say, does it? Brazilian. Don't think we can. It might say there. Can't be bothered to read it. Anyway, let's go up. Are there any Chinese or Indians on this list? Yes, Li Nan won it in 2037 as well. So he won World Player of the Year and World Golden Ball. And once again, 3 Germans on that list. Now, World Team of the Year, you can't see the nationality, I don't think. So you can pause this. Li Nan's there of Man City, so that's someone. There's probably a few players, or the odd, maybe 2 players on this list. You're welcome to pause it and have a look as I go back. Can't be bothered to look through individually and see. But I'm sure there's a couple on there. Just before we finish, I just want to have a look at their youth competitions, because you can see here they actually won finished second in the Olympic Games to Belgium, the 2036 Olympic Games. So that's the sort of youth competition under 23s. Asian Nations Cup, they've been unlucky to be runners up twice and third place once. East Asian Cup, they have won 3 times during this experiment. The Dynasty Cup, don't know what that is. That's an old competition. Under 22 Asian Nations Cup, they've won 3 times. And Asian Games Football Tournament, they've won a couple times. Under a 19 Championship, they've won 4 times. So they've certainly been winning things at youth level. It's just trying to transcend that to the full team level, I guess, and make sure their potential is fulfilled. India, they've won the Asian Nations Cup twice. Very impressive for them. And also finished 3rd twice. They haven't won the Under 22 Nations Cup though. They have won. They finished runners-up in the Asian Games Football Tournament, whatever that is, and 3rd place as well 3 times. Asian Challenge Cup, they've won, but that's prior to the experiment. Asian Under 19 Championship, they've won plenty of times. Yeah, they've won a few things here. So what I'm going to do ahead of part 3, well, I'll do holiday probably another 20, 25 years, maybe 30, just to speed things up. We're going up to 2,100, remember, possibly, if a team doesn't win the World Cup. So Niroshan Chetri of India, I will improve. I'll give him 200 current and potential ability, and I will do the same for the Chinese manager, whoever he is. I've forgotten who it is. It might still be the same guy. It is still Ying Zhang Dao. He's been there from a very young age, so I'll improve him as well. Hopefully they won't move on too quickly. If they do, then I guess I'll have to replace him with another equally good manager. But we'll see if improving the manager makes a difference, because China have been good at getting to the World Cup. They just haven't had that little bit extra to qualify. And India now probably will go on to qualify for World Cups now that they've managed to reach their first one. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please hit that like button. Leave any thoughts in the comment section below, any observations, leave them in the comment section below. And I shall see you in part 3 very soon.